Bow, 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 bow. Let's get some feeding the ducks. Here we go. There we go. Gonna start in just a second. What's going on, everybody? See if anybody shows up to the stream. You know what I forgot to do again? I think I can fix it. I can put the call-in link into the descriptions while we're live. What's going on, everybody? The Canadian Pride text message alert system just went out. Hello, here I am. We're going to do the pre-show meet and greet, I guess we can call it, real quick. Then we're going to get the show started in just a second, so don't go anywhere. We're going to have a blast. As we speak, going into the description, it's going to start with the Rumble. Sorry, YouTube. Going to put in the call in link. Here we go. Call in. Colon. I'll use a colon and put the link. There we go. Save that sucker. Let me know in the chat if this music that's playing is too loud, too soft. Who do we got? We got Guitar Band 86. Got Katie, got Sir Darren out of the Hunger Pandas. My changes have been saved. Please allow up to 30 seconds. If you're on the Rumble, it's gonna take 30 seconds. Now I'm gonna go over here to the YouTube. Let's see if I can fix you, dear YouTube. Dear YouTube people. See if I can give you the call-in link, because of course this is a call-in show. And what's a call-in show without a call-in link? You know what? We are, of course, going to be premiering the next Beyond the Verse by Gon Shimura. That's Face Like the Sun if you're an old timer. It's not going to come out. It's not going to get posted until Saturday. All right? So this is a real premiere. Nobody has seen it, not even myself. But while the YouTube description editor loads incredibly slowly, I'm going to go ahead and let you know. You got to join the Canary Cry text message alert system. If you haven't done it yet, you're missing out. Do it right now. You can see it on the screen. All you got to do is text the word canary to 877-740-3226. It has come to my attention that our descriptions on at least YouTube have been including a StreamYard affiliate code. That's not what we want. We got to figure out how to turn that off. It's not how we roll. So, text the word canary to 877-740-3226, and you'll get on the text message alert system. I personally will send you a little text. Send you a little text. What is this? It doesn't. Well, I'll send you a text before every show during the week. It's going to be great. Okay, there we go. I was trying to give you the call-in description. I'm sorry. Change the call-in. Put the call-in link in the description of the show. But it's making me verify. Already got it. Okay, I'm going to press save. All right. I think that should work. I don't know. I can't tell. It's being very irritated at me. So go ahead, refresh the page. If you want the call-in link, go ahead, hit refresh on the page. Check that description. It should have the call-in link. Of course, we're going to be taking calls later on in the show. Probably after we watch the Beyond the Verse. Okay. I'm going to raise this up. It seems like the camera's not very well placed. There we go. Okay, it's time to get this show started. Big shout out to everybody who has joined the Canary Cry text message alert system. You can text us back at that number. It's fun. I see all the texts. People are texting in now. 859 says, hey, I have that same shirt. 859 is a member of the Canary Cry text, the text message alert system, but also the Canary Cry t-shirt council. I got some of my t-shirt council shirts here. This is Necro Capitalists. For those who are interested, go to canarycryt-shirtcouncil.com. 281 says, Basil, my guy, I'm sitting here trying to catch up, listening to episode 839. Was just wondering if you're jumping on today. Be blessed. Have a great show. Thank you, 281. And 865 says, love you guys. Keep up the good work. From Drewski777. Okay, beautiful. I'm not going to play Feeding the Ducks one more time. We are hitting a limit because we're going to start the show. Let's start the show now. I'm going to play a little jingle. I'm going to put this up here, and then we'll get going. Everybody get ready. Here we go.
Called it. We got a caller. We got a caller on the line here.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for being here at Canary Cry Clubhouse, where we're taking a little break from the news of the week. Been a busy week. That's okay. We can take a breath. It's Thursday, statistically the absolute worst day for our channel. I don't know what it is about Thursdays. Anything we do on Thursday is not a good day. And this, once we learned how to go back into the history of the analytics of everything we've done, turns out Thursday, just not a good day. But here we are on Thursday, because who's got the time to change the schedule around? I don't know. Apparently Canarians have all scheduled their work days around the live shows, and then we started throwing in Thursday live shows, mess it all up. Isn't that just how it goes sometimes? Well, I'm glad you're here. We have another Beyond the Verse mini documentary from Gons, digging into some of the more obscure, but perhaps more important than ever, parts of the Bible, especially things like biblical prophecy and such. Today is on Leviathan and the Behemoth, which has been a very interesting sort of undercurrent in human history for hundreds of years. What does Leviathan and the Behemoth have to do with anything? Well, Gons is going to tell us what he found, and then I'm going to dig into some of the weird stuff that I've been thinking about lately. And then we're going to take calls. So if you look in the description of this video, you should see a call-in link in the top of the description. If you don't see it there, refresh your page. It should show up then. There we go. Guitar Authority says there is a lot of truth in that scheduling. Yes, you know, this is just how we do things around here. Okie dokie. So with that, I'm going to make sure everything's going good here. What do we got? We got some germs over on Rumble. Big shout out to everybody. Oh, Sir Jamie's here. What's up? Sir Jamie says, dang, Basil's looking buff. Thank you very much. The end of the world is coming, so you need your Canary Cry T-shirt council T-shirts, and you got to go out into the garage and lift heavy things. It doesn't matter. See, here's the thing. Let's stop for a second, everybody. Slow down. Slow your roll. I've previously told the story about taking control of my physical health, which I've always been in pretty good physical health. Although, you know, when somebody says, like, oh, that guy's healthy. Oh, he's a healthy boy. You know, that's, that's a little different. You know, it means you, in that context, it's kind of like, yeah, you'd survive a little longer than everybody else out in the wilderness without food, you know. So there is a little different between being, a healthy boy and, you know, trying to do your best to take control of the health thing. And one of the things that always held me back my entire life was, honestly, let's just all say it together, it's so inconvenient. So inconvenient to try to go to a gym where all the things are and there's other people there, and you got to take hours out of you got to like travel, and you got to show up, you got to pay. It's just never worked. To try to maybe a dozen times throughout my life. And I never really had a whole lot of space, but I'll tell you what, past few years, I've literally only had about a 10 by 10 space. You got to get creative with storage of workout equipment in that case. Not a whole lot of room to move around, but there's only one of you. It's part of the fun. It's like solving a puzzle. It helps work out the brain too. How in the world am I supposed to, I don't know, lift this heavy thing when I'm surrounded both by other heavy things, by cardboard boxes that are leaning over, gonna crush me, or old, I don't know, gardening equipment that I've never used in my life. I don't even know where it comes from, where it could have possibly come from. That kind of thing. Um, but I don't know what it was. It was something about COVID, something about the end of the world, something about seeing a history shifting, uh, paradigm shifting control mechanism lie straight to our face for years. That made me think, maybe I should get it a little under control. And so, where was I going with this? I don't know. What was the purpose of me saying this? I don't know. Well, if it comes to me, if it comes to anybody else, I know I was going somewhere with that. Had something to do with the text message. Last but not least, 500 Incognito 907 says, was just listening to an old CCNT episode from 2021 and started getting nostalgic about Dame Allie's artwork and the old jingles and some of the points you guys were making. Canaries were on their A game in 2021. Yeah, trust me, 2021 was by the numbers. 2021 was the peak. That is where we peaked. So to be honest, it's where a lot of people peaked. And of course, the fact that everybody was locked in their homes and had nothing else to do but jump on the internet and watch other people on the internet helped out a lot. But there was something about that moment. It was an interesting correspondence between this or whatever not cause a correlation. Thank you. It's an interesting correlation between the story I was just telling and this person's text message, because it was about 2021 when I said, hey, I got a couple feet in the garage. Let's go do this. And it took a few years, but now I can fit into a medium shirt, which I wasn't even able to do in high school. So I say all this to encourage you that it's time, it's possible. My parents recently, well, not recently, well, I'll say kind of recently, really got in great shape, almost in shape I've never seen him before. And it's nice as a son when your parents say that you inspired us to get in shape. So that's nice. What's up, Mom and Dad? If you're listening to this, hello. What's up? Love you. All right. Let's get into the show here. I'm totally lost. Text the word canary to 877-740-3226. Get on the list. You'll never miss a show, and you can text me back. Okay, just checking the chat here, making sure everybody got those call-in links. I will encourage you. Yeah, okay. Poco Joe says, let's do a Canary Fitness challenge. I could use the accountability. All right. Listen to me. This is Canary Cry Clubhouse. Okay, it's a very relaxed show. If that's not what you're into, I'm sorry. We have other shows you can listen to. I'd been thinking about this. It's become quite obvious that we, both Gons and I, either together or separately, need to start getting a little bit more creative on how we can continue to support ourselves in order to continue doing what we believe the Lord has called us to do. Many of you agree. Thank you for being on board with that. And one of the options, here's the thing. By no means on any planet, in any universe, in any form of, reality that could possibly exist, will I or have I ever thought that being some sort of workout, fitness, health person on the internet would be anything at all that interests me at all. And I'm telling you, it still doesn't. However, after going through the experience myself of basically losing 60 pounds and that's like a whole other person. And more importantly, sort of very, 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 very slowly building the habits that that it takes to do something like that. Accountability is like one of the huge things. So here's the thing. I have no secrets that you can't find anywhere else as far as working out, getting stronger, losing weight, whatever. Nothing. But simply, I can be a motivating force for other people who desire that in their own lives. And if there's a way that we could put a group of people together that a way, that is something that I could be interested in. I'd be happy to share what it takes for me and what I think. Oh my gosh. Oh, hold on a second, folks. You know what? I got a text message for somebody who was just calling me during the show. It's a little bit, just tiny bit, little tiny bit of an emergency. So give me 1 second. I'm going to put this up. I'm going to put up this banner for you. And I'm going to play you. Listen to this. Feeding the ducks. Be right back. Check, check. Okay. Am I back? Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. There we go. What's up, everybody? Apologize. I thought I was doing a great job of leaving you with a nice screensaver and a nice feeding the ducks music to listen to, but I'm realizing that I didn't have feeding the ducks on repeat. So you got one cycle of feeding the ducks. Yeah, a little, sorry about that. A little bit of a, I don't know, call it some sort of emergency. Thankfully, I have learned that it's not a life-threatening emergency. It is an emergency that requires a little bit of my attention for a couple minutes here. That is why I'm not on camera. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go ahead. We are going to play Beyond the Verse. I'm going to take that time to straighten everything out here. And then I'll see you on the other side. Let's do that, and we'll take some callers. I see we got some callers in the waiting room. This is perfect. All right, here we go. Look at this. What a wonderful live experience we're all having here. Here is Beyond the Verse, Leviathan and the Behemoth from Gan Shimura.
In the book of Revelation, two beasts rise at the end of the age, one from the sea, one from the earth. But what if they've been here all along, bound since the days of Job? Leviathan and Behemoth, ancient chaos creatures or prophetic precursors of the two beasts in the book of Revelation. Welcome to Beyond the Verse, where we dig deeper into Scripture. The book of Job, Psalms, and Isaiah all mention a creature called Leviathan. Leviathan is described as a fire-breathing sea serpent, untamable, terrifying, impervious to human weapons, and is called the king over all the sons of pride. In Job 41, it says, "Can you pull in Leviathan with a hook? Out of his mouth go burning torches." In Psalm 74, it says, "You crushed the head of Leviathan and gave him as food to the creatures of the desert." And Isaiah 27, verse 1, "In that day the Lord will slay the dragon that is in the sea." Clearly, Leviathan is described as a symbol of chaos, darkness, and defiance. Then we have another biblical creature, referenced as Behemoth in Job 40. Behemoth is a land-dwelling beast of immense power, has the strength of lions and bones of bronze. He is described as the first of the works of God. Job 40, it says, "He eats grass like an ox." Then later, "His tail sways like a cedar." And lastly, "Only his maker can draw the sword against him." Behemoth is symbolic of grounded, immovable power. Now let's look at the two beasts in the book of Revelation. In Revelation 13, the first beast is from the sea. "Then I saw a beast rising out of the sea. This beast had 7 heads and 10 horns. He was given power and a throne by the dragon, or Satan. He wages war against the saints, and he is both political and militant." There are some obvious parallels with Leviathan, since it's also a beast from the sea, and chaotic, with multi-headed dominion over the world, and is also mentioned as part of end times judgment, like in Isaiah 27, where it's God himself that slays Leviathan. Then, later in Revelation 13, there is a second beast from the earth. "Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. This second beast had 2 horns like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. It performed signs and wonders, and it also forces the people of the world to worship the first beast via its image. This second beast is also the one who institutes the mark of the beast. The obvious parallel here with Behemoth is that they both come from the earth. They have deceptive gentleness with hidden power, and seems to have religious, ideological, or even technological control. According to the late Dr. Michael Heiser, Leviathan and Behemoth are symbolic of primordial chaos, rooted in ancient Near Eastern mythology, but reframed by Yahweh as conquered foes. In addition, according to David Guzik, another biblical commentator, these creatures likely had physical counterparts known to Job, which may include extinct megafauna, but ultimately carries symbolic weight. So while Leviathan and Behemoth may have had physical creatures as a point of reference in the ancient Near East, ultimately it is agreed that they are symbolic in gesture, likely of spiritual powers. Could these powers be what is loosened again in the final days? Especially because there is a common destination for these beasts. As mentioned earlier, Isaiah 27:1 mentions how Leviathan is slain by the sword of the Lord. And in Revelation 19:20, both the beast from the sea and the beast from the earth are thrown into the lake of fire. Could we be living in the times when we see these beasts rise again? Or maybe they're already here. Either way, we know that they only exist under God's sovereign leash. The one who formed Behemoth and slays Leviathan is the same God who says, "Do not be afraid." So while this is contextualized in the form of mythology, it is very much a spiritual reality encoded in prophecy, where the lines between metaphorical and literal are continuing to dissolve.
Whoa, bro. Whoa, bro. Here, let me do a little bit of this. I'm not on camera right now, so I don't know if this is helpful or hurtful, but here's this for a second. Just going to be on audio for a moment. The Leviathan and the Behemoth are a very interesting set of creatures slash characters. Because, of course, from the very beginning, especially if you're a fringy internet person, the the context of a literal monster comes very naturally to the, I don't know, I don't even want to say like conspiracy folk, but like fringy skeptic type folk, because of course we got to look out for interdimensional Bigfoot, or conversations about things like dinosaurs and other cryptids. Wait, no, dinosaur. I guess dinosaurs technically don't count as cryptids as far as the mainstream is concerned. But what are you gonna do? Who knows? But Leviathan and Behemoth have been a lot of what I have seen come across my desk just in reading, in exploration and research. The Leviathan and Behemoth have been a very interesting topic for, I mean, not just like philosophy or metaphysics or something like that, but also politics. Now, this I know. I don't get it. It's weird. So, as Gans sort of expresses here in the scripture and with some various research behind them, the two beasts sort of representing almost like two different sides of order and chaos. I mean, they're both this sort of primordial. Some of these philosophers or wackos, might call it archetypal, something like something truer than true, something that speaks to something very deeply. Now, whether they're literal or not, Lord knows, I will be the first to ask once we get to our eternal life here. But you won't believe it. There's a fella named Thomas Hobbes, and some of the real history buffs or Anglophiles or those types will know Thomas Hobbes. He was sort of a theologian type political philosopher. He lived through some really sketchy times in England. I think, let me see if I can look up. He was born in 1588, died in 1679, died at like 90, which at that time was so old, just so old. Uh, Back in the day, we're talking, 500 years ago, stuff like that. I mean, he was contemporaneous with Galileo and Descartes, like Galileo. That's how far back we're talking. But he wrote a book, I think it was called Leviathan. And in this, he goes over the biblical Leviathan. And like Gans was showing us here, that the Leviathan is seen as this sort of almost cosmically powerful creature in the sea, sprays fire, sort of represents chaos, is sort of this unknown, lives in the deep, unknowable, primordial force, of course, created by God, but sort of a representation of the chaos that can be creation. Or, if we go back to Genesis 1, tohu vavohu, formless and void, sort of like a leftover, not behemoth, that's a leftover, I guess, monster from the formless and the voidness pre-creation, which, has some very interesting, leads you to think about some very interesting things. But Thomas Hobbes, he wrote this whole book about Leviathan. However, he took a different spin at it. And I think, we talk about political spin, coming to the spin zone. Let's talk to the spin doctor. Thomas Hobbes may have been like one of the original spin doctors, like, he's straight CNN Rachel Maddow type. Because in his book Leviathan, this creature who is pretty explicitly equated with chaos and pre-human or supranatural creature that almost like a principality or a power representing chaos. Thomas Hobbes comes in and says, no, Leviathan represents order, and more than order, the government. This was like early political theory coming from Thomas Hobbes, where Leviathan, this ancient, unstoppable creature, mysterious but powerful, unslayable except by the hand of God, actually represents a sovereign human king, or the government, in broader terms, a something that extinguishes the chaos. Thomas Hobbes thought that human beings inherently were sort of anarchistic and, crazy, couldn't be trusted, driven by fear, and, the worst possible impulses of humanity sort of led each and every one of us, and that made it very dangerous to be alive and to be independent, and that the Leviathan was actually the government, that we need to hand over some freedoms and some sovereignties to be kept safe from our own chaos. And when we consent, the other part of it sounds very one way, but it also includes another way, which was the consent of the governed was very important, or else Leviathan, doesn't have, can't wield the power. The government can only represent pure power and order if the people give consent to Leviathan. And this was actually, this was during or right before an English Civil War that happened in 1640s or something like that. And so society around him was just crumbling. We're talking almost like pre what we think of English monarchy even. back in the day, England was sort of, I mean, it was in its own form of chaos. The order of sort of a singular, all-powerful government hadn't quite taken root, and this led to all sorts of violence. So, anyways, he quite literally like reinterprets um, reinterprets Leviathan straight from the Bible. And, Hobbes' defenders and the book itself kind of doesn't really argue this point very much. I mean, that's kind of explicit if you look into it. The fact that he was sort of reinterpreting this biblical imagery to mean, at least by the accounts I can find, the exact opposite of what we're sort of told Leviathan was, which was pure chaos and unstoppable force, but in political theory and Thomas Hobbes's, I don't know, thesis or his book or whatever, which became very, very influential, by the way. I mean, think of it. You're some sort of nobility or royalty or a leader in England, and it's chaotic and civil war reigns, and it's not a very great place to be the boss of. And then suddenly, this theologian type guy says, no, 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 you think that handing your power over to a monstrous, all powerful beast would be a bad thing, but actually, it's the only thing keeping us alive, the only thing keeping society going. Um, that's pretty. It's a pretty helpful set of ideas to come into the zeitgeist. Now, of course, not everybody was. I don't know, very happy about that. Not everybody could read. So, it really only gained popularity by the literate people in England at the time, which, kind of is just the types who would benefit from this idea that consenting to hand over your freedoms and your sovereignty to a all-powerful state, these were exactly the people who are going to benefit from this sort of thing. And he did later on write a book about Behemoth too. So I don't want to get too deep into this thing. There's another side of it. Shoot, I'm listening to trying to remember this guy's name. I can't remember his name. Shoot. But sort of in the kind of new agey or philosophical world, Leviathan and the chaos of Leviathan is also kind of represents the chaos in the human heart, the chaos inherent to human beings, our natural state, which, isn't too outside the realm of acceptable ideation, because of course we know that human beings are fallen and we have these instincts in us, these fallen instincts, these fallen desires, these imperfect ideas about who we are and what our I don't know, place is and what should drive us, things like that. And so Leviathan was kind of considered to be, in all of us, in a way. And that really it took handing over power to God, recognizing that only God is able to tame or destroy this this serpent, this dragon, that is sort of the human character, the darker side of human characteristics and chaos and things like that. So this Leviathan imagery, I'm almost surprised that it doesn't pop up more often. It's an engaging image for sure, an engaging image and sort of a powerful. I'm trying to think of another word for image. I don't quite want to say metaphor, but just like again, I'll just say a powerful image, a powerful representation, maybe, of really, for me, something that is so inherent in all of us, and I think we try to ignore it quite often, which is just how little control we have. You know, it's one thing to look at the control you have, the power you have in relation to the government. If we take it like in Thomas Hobbes's case, the government at least loves to give the impression that it is so big, so stable, so powerful, and deserves trust and consent. And to a degree, it is in a way that. I think more so for certain kinds of people. I think, the types that are still getting their news from cable media, the types who, the safe and effective types, the ones that are still there. They have replaced any perception, any idea that there is uncontrollable chaos at the heart of existing. And of course, I mean, there's obviously the sovereignty of God, but as us as human beings, we essentially we are required to. It's in our nature. It's a almost like part of our programming to consent to something larger, more powerful than us, with the hopes that it can be trusted to protect and care for us. And for those who don't believe in God, for those whose universe is sort of small, so small that it cannot include a being that we can call God for the sake of the conversation, the next best thing is the state. And that is where they lean into the government. And that's when Thomas Hobbes comes in. Like, hey, I mean, there it's funny because Thomas Hobbes sometimes had to fight off the allegations of being an atheist. He claimed to be a Christian, but, people were, I think it was because of this idea where he loved the idea of a state so much, and in his theorizing sort of implicitly gave the impression that the highest power that humans can call upon or can trust in is the state. So, it's not a bad metaphor, right? Or not metaphor, but comparison to those types of people that we have today. Yeah. You know what I think we're going to do? I think we're going to take some callers here for a second. We've got some callers in the waiting room. Doopy doopy doo. Looks like, I'm just looking through the caller chat here because sometimes people, they work out the order in which they want to come on. Anyways, okay, so we got Psalm 40 in here. He says he needs about 15 minutes. I see we got Sir Jamie in here, although I do not see Sir Jamie on his camera, so he may have stepped away. Sir Jamie, if you're in there, go ahead and step back into frame. Oh, there he is. Okay, beautiful. Let's do this. Let's take a call from Sir Jamie. What is up, Sir Jamie? Don't worry, folks. He's Sir Jamie, not the Lannister. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Oh, not too bad, man. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Kind of doing some interesting multitasking here, hoping that the show doesn't hurt too bad. But your mustache is certainly helping me, so thank you for that.
I honestly can't stand it. I think I'm doing it for the old girlfriend right now. She really likes the mustache thing. So
A lady who loves a mustache that's a keeper. Unfortunately, these days, that's a good sign.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
how
I
are
have
you?
to.
What's on your mind?
Oh, I don't know, man. I just want to call and say hi. I don't really have anything too important or awesome to add. I just want to say what's up. I got to go back and listen to everything again too, because I'm also very distracted and multitasking as well. I was
Look at
just
us go.
hunting. I was just hunting some wasps in my yard. I got this, you know, those bug assault guns. Well, they have a CO2 revolver version that takes care of wasps, and
I've
it's been
seen that one. And for those who don't know, you have got to get one of these products. Look, I don't endorse products often, but it's called Bug Assault. And it's these, I have the shotgun version, but yes, they have a sweet revolver CO2 canister version, and it shoots salt. So, you know, you're not going to hurt anybody or anything except for those varmints flying around. I stared right at the Bug Assault canister revolver, thinking it looks like the coolest possible product I could own. Is it effective? Does it work?
so I haven't. It's just got it, and this is just wasp season just started down here in where I'm at. So I was looking for my first target. That's one of those questions that whenever I die and get up. I'm sure you get hit with the knowledge right away, but I joke about why wasps. Like why do we have these things?
What is the
What's
purpose?
what is the purpose? They're scary. They hurt. Do they really do anything?
Pure suffering. Pure
Yeah.
suffering. They destroy. I think they're sort of similar. I wonder sometimes if wasps had a different form in the garden, you know, how because snakes had uh, legs and hands, you know, but as a product of the fall, they had to slither and eat the dirt. I do wonder if wasps, you know, maybe they weren't, they were kind of like sidekicks to the snake where they didn't get in the story necessarily, but they took some other form and then were cursed to, I don't know, fly around and have complete freedom. What are we doing?
Yeah, no, they're terrifying. It's one of my biggest, my only irrational fears. So I was out having fun with the bug assault. No
That's
luck
fair.
yet.
That's fair.
Anyway, yeah, I'm really interested. I got to go back and listen to the Beyond the Verse because just the words Leviathan and Behemoth have been in my vocabulary just because I'm a big sci-fi nerd, and those things are really, really interesting because, like you said, I mean, they could mean a lot of different things and come in a lot of different forms, but really only God has the power to do it. When you made the connection of kind of being a human characteristic too, that kind of struck with me, and I was like, oh, I got to look more into that.
I mean,
Um,
it is interesting, isn't it?
yeah,
Because like I don't even really know. I like to think that, you know, I kind of have a way of describing what I'm thinking and feeling inside pretty reliably. Um, but when it comes to the Leviathan and the Behemoth, again, just look, we're just going off the top of our heads here to even just to entertain the ideas that it could have some reflection of the sort of primordial cosmic principalities and powers of chaos, you know, of creation. It has some sort of deep resonance, doesn't it?
yeah, man. It's like you said, yeah. There's no other word to describe it really. That deep resonance, and I don't really know what to make out of it. I'm fascinated by that stuff. I mean, I'm sure like those things. It's like the Kraken from the Greek mythology, and with the what's the snake from Norse mythology, the World Eater. Those are like giant creatures that I think in those stories can be conquered by somebody other than God. But it's
Yeah.
just crazy. Those are just gigantic, insane, inconceivable
Yeah.
powers.
No, that's a great. I mean, that seems to be a pretty, uh, of course, I think it's interesting. That's what's something that's so interesting when it comes to like ideating God as we know it, as this sort of not just super being, not just hyper being, but like the very being that allows being to be like you know the whatever it is, force and power that even lets existence exist, you know, that's pretty high up there and can be pretty tough to sort of imagine. And I think it's no wonder that before people come into that kind of understanding of God, it's like, yeah, a big, powerful thing, like a big snake, but it's like
Yeah,
really big. It's like a snake as big as the world. And so
yeah.
I don't
I
necessarily blame them too much for it.
I can't wait to go back and listen to that again and then hear what other people like Psalm 40 has to say because I don't have anything smart to say on it right now.
Yeah.
I was just
Uh,
calling to say hi.
I'm glad that you called in, buddy. It's
Yeah, man.
fun because, of course, everybody knows Sir Jamie, executive producer, every single week. Very faithful at that. And, one of the producers over the years that I have been very happy to get to spend some time with. Um, and so I think the fact that you're brave enough to even come on to the live show is going to encourage thousands of people to take the time and step out in faith to come have
I
some conversation. So I appreciate that.
I wrestled with it for a while, but
I
um,
know.
because I don't really, like I said, I don't feel like I have anything important to add. But
Hey,
um,
buddy,
not that
you
I care, and I don't celebrate it. But today's my birthday, so I'm feeling extra
what?
happy. Everybody's been talking to me, so
It's your birthday,
yeah. I don't
buddy?
celebrate it, but my phone's been going wild, so it's nice to hear from everybody today.
Well, happy birthday. What that's
Thank you,
exciting, buddy. Thank you for
thank you.
letting us know. You could have very
Yeah.
easily kept that a secret and another example of your courage and bravery
Oh, I mean,
for
I'm
coming on.
already everybody. I mean, it's on the internet, so
I know.
it's
Well,
yeah.
I guess you are a bit of a public figure, huh?
It's silly to say, but yeah, it's already been posted on the old Instagram from the band and stuff. So.
That's so fun. Well, happy birthday, buddy. I
Thanks,
wish
man.
your presents in the mail. Just keep an eye out. Probably will come at the end of the quarter. Nice little package filled with.
Yeah, actually, I've been working with Sir Ike. I added to it this time.
Oh, you
So,
did. You got
yes,
something in the supply drop this time.
yes.
What you want to? Should we keep it a
Nah, let's
secret?
make it.
Keep it a
That doesn't.
secret.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do that. I'll say this for those out there who are part of the supply drop. You got a fun, you got a fun addition straight from Sir Jamie himself. And for those who are not part of the supply drop, you still got time. CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com. Go check it out.
Yes. Check it out. Well, have fun, man. Y'all, I love what y'all are doing. I love these biblical chats that happen. I think it's something the show needed for me personally. So keep it up.
Well, God bless you, buddy. Thank you so much
You
for
too,
everything
man.
you do for the whole Canarium.
Thank you guys, and come see me soon, man.
Will do. Will do. See you
All right.
soon. Fun. Isn't that fun, folks? Look at that. We're having a blast. Sir Jamie, thanks so much for calling in, buddy. Okay. I mean, I think maybe we can just jump right over. Let me jump over to the chat real quick. Sorry, I should. Oh, look at all the happy birthdays to Sir Jamie. Let me throw some of these up there. There we go. Beautiful. All right. Let's say hi to Mr. B. More Busker. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for calling in again.
Hey, how's it going? Best buddy Basil, how you doing?
Hanging in there, buddy. Doing a weird multitasking thing, keeping the world going.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
So the Leviathan, I remember, I guess it was the 80s. There was a movie called Leviathan. And it was about a sea monster.
Okay.
It was like a sci-fi flick, and it was called Leviathan. I remember it must have been from the 80s because I remember the trailer was like Leviathan, and then it had like a whole sentence, and it said again Leviathan. So it kind of seemed like a 80s kind of trailer. I'm
Sounds
thinking,
exciting. I don't know if it rings any bells in my brain, but I'm sure it's awesome. I mean, if it's an 80s movie with such a grand premise or name, somebody's doing flips and getting pumped.
yeah. So how's it going with you, brother?
Hanging in there, man. Hanging in there. Had a wonderful Mother's Day. Got to hang out with my parents. That was cool. Um, I'm back on the homestead now, and honestly, it's kind of. I feel like I don't know how to say this. I don't know if I'm would say I feel more at home. No, I feel more at home. But there's something about doing a little bit of traveling, even if it's not, to somewhere big and exotic. I just feel like I'm in the zone. I'm in the zone. Every day seems, it has purpose. And maybe just because when you're traveling, just surviving in the new place is like, its own reward. Sometimes when I get home after traveling, I kind of feel like I'm not doing enough or I'm not being productive enough. Somehow, and this seems opposite, but when I get home after a little trip, suddenly I just start like feeling guilty. Not maybe not about leaving, but like, oh, I'm home now, time to get back to work. And it is very difficult to do. I don't know how to do better, buddy. But this is maybe that is part of my Leviathan, my unknown cosmic chaos.
Yeah, and also the behemoth. You mentioned a behemoth.
Yes, the behemoth.
All right, I'll tell you a story, and this is no joke, man. When I was in elementary school, now you think there's crazy stuff in elementary school libraries now.
Mm-hmm.
Like back then, there was all kinds of used old books, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one was this book. I can't remember the title of it, but I found out later on that uh, not. Oh, sorry.
No worries. Sounds like an office phone. Is that a landline, bro?
Yeah, yeah, dude.
Whoa, landline.
I don't use cell phones because I just can't. My vision is all messed up. But anyway, so the behemoth, like that's when the I first that Satanist that there was he wrote books. He was a great beast 666, Aleister Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like there was a book by him in this library, and I used to rent it out. I was a kid, and I used to rent it out all the time because I like the drawings in it, right? And these were all drawings by Aleister Crowley. And Behemoth was one of the beasts that he has in there, and it was like had the head of an elephant and the body of a man, a human with a pot belly. It
Huh.
was that was his version of Behemoth. But it's so freaking weird that it was in that I don't they didn't vet the books and like notice that they had something satanic in their in the library. It's just
Uh-huh.
yeah. I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have been looking at that so young. I know. Fuck it.
What book was this? What kind of book was this?
It was one of Aleister Crowley's books, but it's got a bunch of artwork in it and some writing. I can't remember. I was such a kid. I was back in when I was like in third, fourth, fifth grade.
And I'm
And
sorry, this was at a library, the school library, or what?
yeah,
Where?
it was in a
Really?
school library. I kid you not.
Whoa, that's
That's why
very
I started
interesting.
it off here. You think there's some weird stuff in libraries now? Like that was back in the 80s.
Interesting.
So yeah,
The,
it's like
the 80s were
oh
wild, man. You had
yeah.
Leviathan in the movie theater and Aleister Crowley in the middle school library.
Well, it was before middle school. It was like elementary, but like it's just so I rented it so many times. You know how they used to well the libraries I don't know if they still do it. They have the stickers on the back of them with the dates that are stamped.
Yeah, 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 sure.
I rented it so much there was like a pile of stamps.
What kept you coming back to this satanic ritual magic for children book?
Well, it's not for children, but like that's the thing. I don't know. I just kept getting it out, and then
That have lots of pictures?
yeah, it had lots of his drawings, and like I said, the behemoth was on there, and it looked like a pot-bellied man with an elephant head,
Yeah, I mean, kids
and
like
like
pictures.
flies all around it and stuff. Like it's weird. I remember that like it was yesterday, but I
That's
was so
wild.
young, and I don't think my parents asked any questions. They might have seen it laying around. I just told them I rented a book, and it had this kind of like it was bound in this kind of cloth type fabric.
Bro.
It was like dark burgundy looking,
Uh-huh.
and it was
S-
creepy.
Yeah, it sounds like a straight up just like a grimoire somebody popped into the school library. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, like that it's just so weird. Like, how could that be in an elementary school library? I mean, it's evil.
I-
Uh,
I'm doing
I'm
a I'm doing a quick little search here to see if I could get some more information on Aleister Crowley's sort of conception of the
Yeah,
behemoth here.
yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
It
Yeah,
says
because
here the
I
book of the heart girt with the serpent. Liber LX5, one of the more symbolic allusions to behemoth like ideas, appears in Liber LXV, where Crowley explores the descent of the adept into spiritual union, battling base forces of the self. Ah, see, this is going back to the self as well. So that's very interesting. In the sort of new agey conversation I saw of the Leviathan and the Behemoth, it was very much, sort of mastering inner forces or the chaos of inner forces. Aleister Crowley seems to be along those lines. These lower forces, often described as beasts, serpents, or giants, could be seen as behemoth analogs. Blah, blah, blah. Very interesting. Okay, I'll keep poking around here. That's wild, man. Now,
yeah, it's
especially in the 80s, that was kind of like during a little bit of the satanic
satanic
panic.
panic, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. That's why, like you said, maybe somebody slipped it in the bookshelf or something.
Dude, turns out we've always had to keep an eye on school librarians. That's not a new, progressive thing.
And I don't remember. I really don't remember anything about that library except I did rent that book all the time. That was just so weird that I did that, and probably not good. But I had a friend who he was kind of he knew all about Aleister Crowley, and he's like, it's probably not good that you rented it so many times, and it has some spells in it, and like knew how to read the words, but I didn't know how to put it all together. But I thought, this must be a spell or something like that.
I mean,
It's,
it's very. I mean, that's kind of. I don't even blame you. That's kind of how it is to be a kid. You find something that is different from everything else. That is different from what your parents or your teachers are kind of
yeah,
trying
and
to
the books
get
that I
you.
used to be taking home when I was in, this was like the only book that I ever brought home from that place. It was not for school.
Yeah.
I didn't really even go into the library. I just rented that one. I saw it. I just remember that bound fabric, and I thought this might be cool. I remember that. But
Yeah.
anyway, man, I'll let you go, dude. You got some people waiting.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
there's people waiting, but appreciate that. I am also running the timer today, folks, just keeping everybody posted on that. Thank you so much for calling in, Be More Busker. Goodness gracious. I think I do kind of relate to the being a kid and just like looking for the most, I don't know, the most interesting book in the library. Don't not interested in See Bob Run or whatever, but you see some
yeah.
sort of leather bound. I used to check out the actual encyclopedia from the school library, and it was not like a cool kids encyclopedia, but it was like leather bound and looked like an old book. So I was just like, this is cool. Everybody will think I'm cool and smart if I check this out. So I did. So, I think it's part of the very interesting way that God is working in our lives, even early on, and that sort of inherent interest so many of us had um, with, I don't know, things beyond just the immediate reality around us.
That's right. Yeah, it's just like, there's something that really fascinated me about that. Just the pictures in it were just really, scary looking in a way. Lots of them. Like Beelzebub had like it looked like more like a fly or something. A fly with I don't know. I just kind of remember all these pictures. They just never left my head. I don't
Crazy.
think about them all the time. It's just a good long term memory.
Yeah,
But
crazy.
anyway,
Well,
buddy, I'll talk to you sometime, some other time. It was
I
good. Talk.
appreciate you calling in, dude. It's great to talk to you. Make sure to call in again.
Yeah, brother. All right. Thanks for having me on.
Later, buddy. Wee! Man, I kind of trip out a little bit sometimes thinking, when I sort of remember childhood. On one hand, it almost seems like maybe not fake, but just different. Even just the way you're perceiving the world, the things that seem like really serious, the things that are very mysterious. It's kind of I don't know, I've said it before, quite obviously, as a child, your brain is just like not even fully developed. So you're not even perceiving the world around you in the same way that we do now. Um, and I think back to being just kind of a weird little kid, getting interested in the things in your environment that catches your attention, catches your eye. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. You think of like every movie about children, I don't know, Pete's Dragon or Indian in the Cupboard or these types of movies. It's all about a kid. It's always about a kid who's like just doing his thing and then follows some mysterious instinct to check out a book or open a chest he's not supposed to open up or something. Then a world of adventure comes after. It's weird to think about, but I think there's a certain connection between kids like that and people who listen to this show or just have an interest in uh, I don't know, exploring more than what is handed to them through the establishment, whether that's media, the government, etc. Okay, we're sitting here. We got another caller on the line, and it is the one, the only Sir Psalm 40. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey Basil, I'm good. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you great.
Okay, cool. So I took some notes. First of all, wasps and gardens, right? My wife is like big on gardening, and we had a wasp that would keep coming back the past few years, and it's actually like a burrowing wasp. It'll dig into the ground,
Oh, yikes.
and I guess this is where it lives at. And it's pretty big. It's probably like, I don't know, 3 inches, 4 inches, something like that. It's maybe about the palm of a man's hand, about the
That's
fingers.
horrifying. That's
Yeah,
absolutely horrifying.
but it eats like it eats parasite bugs. It's good for the garden.
Uh huh.
So I think it's just called like a hunter wasp or something like that.
Yeah.
I only caught it in action one time. There was like this a spider, probably like bigger than the wasp. The spider's body was probably about the same size of the wasp. Plus, you know how their legs make them look bigger. But yeah, the wasp just gripped him up and hit him up with the stinger and carried him away.
Bro, talk about weird childhood fascinations. Watching a spider catch something in the web and go at it is
Oh yeah,
both terrifying, but you also can't look away, man. You can't look
yeah.
away.
Nature really is amazing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
well, I also thought it was like timely that you guys were talking about Leviathan and chaos creatures and stuff because my pastor, my church just recently went through like a Jonah series, and Jonah has always been like my favorite of the prophet books. And so my church going through this, it just inspired me to read it again and start looking into other things about the book. And I listened to there was a Naked Bible episode where he only focused on the fish. And I guess when it was translated into the Septuagint to Greek, uh, they chose a specific word for the big fish or the great fish, and it was Kyrios, I think.
Hmm.
And that was I don't know if you're familiar, but like the Hebrews, their their language is set up in such a way that a lot of the things they say are like punchlines to other pagan cultures or religions. Like Beelzebub, for example, is probably the best example. It's supposed to mean Lord of the Sky, but they switch a couple vowels around and it says Lord of Flies, like as if to mock him. But
Interesting.
yeah, they do that a lot all throughout the Bible. All the words they use, like in Genesis 1, where God is hovering over the deep, the word deep is like a ripoff on Tiamat. So, anyway, Jonah, according to Heiser, the word, if you actually read the story, first of all, it's possible there wasn't any fish there at all. Because, first of all, the storm that is sent is in the water. It's not on the water or like above the water. God sent a storm that was in the water. And then the sailors, when they find out that it's because of Jonah, they don't want to kill him. So they decide to try to row away on their own strength. And the wording that is used there is supposed to represent like digging, actually digging. So like as if you're digging a grave or, trying to dig out of the grave. And so the whole like fish sea scene in Jonah is like by the word depicting like that, yes, it is the sea itself that is the sea creature, and it's also at the same time death itself, and it's also the place of death, and yes, it's all these things.
That's
So
very interesting.
yeah, and also uh also the Hobbes thing is just sounds to me like pretty like par for the course of like a typical occult thing, because like Satan being the liberator, or everything's reversed. So
Yeah,
that's
that's what
yeah.
kind of tripped me out was like I was reading I was reading about it. I was like, this is I can't remember. I mean, this was a while ago, so I'm seeing trying to remember a lot of it, but looking into the Leviathan, the Behemoth thing, and as I'm reading about what Thomas Hobbes was trying to write, I'm like, is that not like exactly the opposite of what the traditional, I think what the Bible even says about the Leviathan? And I looked into it and they're like, yeah, it is exactly the opposite. That is what Thomas Hobbes did, was sort of redefine it or interpret it for the purposes of, bringing order to the chaos of England at that time. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, we still see that today. This like total redefining of certain biblical concepts to whatever supports the power structure of the time.
Speaking of that, I wasn't sure if no, I wasn't sure if I should bring it up, but there's there's somebody in this milieu, this Christian truther internet personality genre
Uh huh.
that has a very interesting and fresh and lot like pretty good theory on things like specifically Leviathan, and like Rahab, for instance, is another sea creature that's mentioned. And I don't know. I think that there's a couple of people that like I followed for a long time who I really like trusted, and I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of people that are just getting lost down the specifics, like building their belief system on things that really are secondary. And I think
Yeah.
that some people may be losing focus.
Yeah. That is always a danger. And I'll speak as somebody who very lightly in the position that I'm in, I do like to give room to really everybody, but including people who are consistently, putting out their thoughts on stuff. I like to give some grace to people to, kind of explore, to research various ideas, to, look into different perspectives or angles on things. I mean, I think it's a good instinct to do this, to sort of include a wide range of perspectives, even if they're not good perspectives. Reading about them, learning about them, because it helps you to, find where you really stand, find where maybe common understanding of something was, is maybe purposefully being held back or twisted in a little bit. So, I like to give some grace for others on that in that sense, which, I mean, honestly, in the end, is, I think, me trying to give myself grace for those types of moments. But there is a real risk when you're doing the exploring, when you're looking, when you're finding other perspectives on things, to get excited and integrate them into your message and into your, I don't know what to call it, like maybe legacy or body of
Branding.
branding, body of work, your that kind of thing. There is definitely a risk of integrating those types of things in way too early, especially when you get excited about something. It's definitely something to that anybody in a position that people are listening to, they both need a little bit of room, a little bit of grace, because, that's just what it is to be a sort of skeptical person and seeking the truth. On the other hand, it is easy, and it does happen, and sometimes somebody will go a little bit too far left of field, and then hopefully they find themselves on the way back, back to the narrow path, and hopefully they haven't caused too much damage, and they have sort of the both grace with themselves and humility to say, I kind of went a little bit far on that thing. I'm coming back. I was just getting excited about some research I was doing or something. That's sort of the best case scenario. But yeah, when somebody is either professionally, semi-professionally, or even as a very enthusiastic hobbyist, putting out information, especially if they're trying to synthesize new pieces of information. Because it's one thing to read a book and then regurgitate what you read. Um, but when you're in the practice of critical thinking and synthesizing various pieces of information into hopefully a sort of broader truth narrative, but that definitely comes with risks. I totally hear you. And yeah, there's certainly been some individuals who went pretty far out in left field and just never made their way back. And that's when we just say, okay, we'll see when you get back there. And I'm saying this with total expectation that I am sure there are some people out there who, consider me to have gone too far out of field on something. But, well, gotta let God be the judge in the end.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the grace thing. And really, like, the point I was trying to make was that, when someone makes secondary things like their branding, like you were saying, the main thing, and it's it's easy, I guess, for all of us as individuals to maybe. I do believe, it's the glory of kings to seek a matter out, and study to show thyself approved, and agree in protocol, and all these things for sure. But I've found dumb, pointless little facts in the Bible that have piqued my curiosity and sent me looking more into it. But when it comes to being, you know, somebody that a lot of people listen to and trust and feel like their heart is in the right place, and then you know you see that the main thing isn't the main thing, you know? And it's
Right.
just disheartening to see that.
Yeah.
And especially if it's, you know, everybody has different personalities, but some people, you know, are just really sure of themselves. We should always all, it should be, you know, common sense that we're not going to know everything. And
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it kind of
And
goes
you
back
know
to that
what?
grace thing.
I'm sorry, real quick, but this is coming from someone who believes in a literal physical firmament. You know, like I am totally against the space thing. Like, believe it or not, shocker, breaking news.
Oh, you
But
said
like, it's not
firmament,
the
literal
right.
physical firmament, you say? Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, that's not the main thing. You know,
Yeah. 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 Yes, that's a great example. That's a great example, especially from sort of the personal friction that we've reached recently, or not so recently, rather. Yeah, it's very interesting. I had a little bump up against something last episode yesterday. Well, I kind of had a couple bumps up against a couple of things yesterday. But there was someone in chat who, was coming in saying, Trump's not going to save you. Trump doesn't have your best interests at heart, things like this, uh, which which I felt as I read as that person thought that I was worshiping Trump or that I think he's here to save us or that we're like a pro Trump political show or something. Whereas I don't know, I like to think that we can report on whatever is going on in the world being done by whoever is doing it and being able to point out, what they're good at and what they're, there's just the various qualities that have them in that position. And I found myself getting pretty, this feeling of being misunderstood was very powerful. And I could feel myself just really trying to put together the perfect, I don't know, ingredients of words to try really, really hard to. And what I realized later is I don't think I think this person was a newcomer. I think this was a new person. So they hear us say, Trump is good at putting on a show, and what they hear, especially for somebody who's got a touch of the TDS, is we love Trump. Trump's going to save us, blah, 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 blah. And so I found myself kind of falling down this hole of trying my best to like rehash every little angle of our, thoughts on Trump in an expedient way, almost kind of totally out of left field, sort of disconnected from everything. And it wasn't until later that I was sitting there thinking to myself, what made it so I was so enthusiastic or I was so triggered in a way that I felt the need to put so much energy, not just showtime, but, airtime, personal energy, things like this into somehow clarifying or making it straight. And there was a moment where I wondered and I was asking God, I was like, what's going on here? Is this one reason why perhaps I'm not ready for some sort of, I don't know, next level of viewership or something like that? Because I tend to get real invested in even one person's understanding of my position. Out of thousands and thousands of people who have comments about what we do on air, it takes one person to make me feel, for me to think that they don't understand where we're at or where we're coming from, and just invest so much time and energy into trying to basically set this one person straight with how to perceive us. And it was a real was a real moment with God where he's like, you know, if you're gonna be exploring, if you're gonna be having an intellectually honest display of trying to analyze, interpret what's going on around us, and go through the process live of finding some kind of understanding or truth, you just gotta do it and let people come along for the ride if they want to. And if somebody is totally missing it, or like you said, the other way around, or if I'm so off base that, people just decide, way too out of the bounds, and then, take off, that that's just kind of how it is. And taking, finding, I guess, value, um, maybe not value is the right word, but I don't know, confirmation or acceptance or something, um, outside of having that honest and earnest pursuit for truth, is just gonna drive you crazy. It'll drive me crazy. It'll drive everybody crazy. And so, I guess part of me just wanted an opportunity to get that out on air, in hopes, well, if not just to help me, maybe it helps somebody else too. But
You know,
the funny part is that that's not just a problem for people like me. That's in this day and age where anything anybody says, is subject to that kind of misunderstanding. That is something for all of us to work through.
right. And I think the fact that you are so concerned with, not being misunderstood is just evidence of your good heart. It's like you are representing Christ in all that you do. He's the Lord first of everything, whether it's, studying the moon or studying politics, however you interpret that or share that, you and God specifically, it's always related to what does this have to do with, sin or salvation or deception, like spiritual warfare.
Right.
And uh,
That's the hope, at
yeah,
least.
so you guys are
That's the
absolutely the bomb.
That's certainly the hope.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for saying that, buddy. I appreciate that. Was there anything else you wanted to get out there on the airwaves before we check in with our last caller?
I think I'm good, man.
All
God
right.
bless you. God bless the Canarium. And I pray that you find peace and joy, and that goes for everybody. So
Uh,
see you next
you're
time.
you're the best. Thank you so much, buddy. God bless. Sir Psalm 40. Whoops. Oh, hold on, Seraphim. There we go. Goodness gracious, always great to hear from that guy. This has been a great round of call-ins. Thank you, guys. We do have one more caller hanging out in the waiting room, and so we're going to check in with them in just a second. But I did want to, let's see here, shout out to Sir Darren, Night of the Hungry Panda, um, who mentioned in the chat a bunch of YouTubers are talking about Leviathan recently. I find that very interesting. I wonder why that is. I kind of, if nothing else, if I don't consider it part of my job, I find it a personal interest of mine, to find sort of the root. If something suddenly is uh, popping up on different shows, different conversations, even just different platforms or threads on X or something like that, if we start seeing this pattern of something, especially something obscure like Leviathan, the biblical Leviathan, something obscure like that. Of course, you're always going to see a trend of Trump or Russia or Iran or something like that, something news or current event related. But when you start spotting these uh, patterns of something fairly obscure, I mean, even in the Christian community as a whole, the topic of Leviathan, as a Christian of forever, my entire life, the amount of times that Leviathan comes up, I could probably count on both hands. But so that'll be interesting. We'll see if we can track down what the source of that trend of a certain principality or power might be. Says, I'll send you links. Thank you, Sir Darren. All right. We got another caller sitting in the waiting room. We're going to say hi to them. We've got Seraphim on the air. What is going on?
Well, hey, howdy. How's it going?
Well, howdy. How are you? I'm great.
Doing good, doing good. Well, I got very excited whenever I saw the theme of this episode being Leviathan and Behemoth.
Ooh.
I have done quite a deep dive on Leviathan for personal reasons. I've always been a fan of dragons growing up, like from young age. Can't tell you why. I just, they're mystical. They got wings. They got claws. They breathe fire. They're purple. Who knows? They can be any kind of color.
They got all sorts of colors, but that's what makes them so widely popular.
Yeah, exactly. And so as I got older, it's like, okay, kind of leave the childhood things behind. But, I'd be one of those nerdy kids in middle school drawing dragons in my notebook. And somebody saw that and they're like, hey, that's cool. I'm like, oh, dragons are cool. Awesome. Full send.
Yeah.
So
that is so interesting. Just the comment right now, you are unlocking a memory from maybe 5th grade where I also got really into drawing specifically like Asian style dragons, like the long sort of serpentine ones. And I remember specifically I drew this one drawing that was like 3 of these dragons flying around each other, and one was yellow, one was, blue, the other was red. And here's the thing. You got, as a young man, you learn at some point what gets the cute girl's attention. And I do remember my cool triple dragon drawing it was a key to opening up some conversation to some cute fifth grade crushes. So,
let's go.
Little tip for the boys out there.
Dragon drawings take you far,
It's true.
I had a whole sketchbook full of them. My personal favorite was the more Western style dragons with the wings.
The wings,
to me,
yes.
The wings are the coolest part. You can fly. They kind of look like bat wings. A
little bit more little chonky boys, not very slithery.
Yeah, less snake-like, more like chonky lizard-like. Exactly.
Yeah, I know the kind. So this led you to Leviathan. How'd we get to Leviathan?
So I know Leviathan has kind of been characterized as the dragon. Those words, there is dragon, there is Leviathan, both in the Bible. And so, being raised in a Christian household, my parents were pretty open to creative outlets, but my mom from time to time would be like, isn't that how Satan's depicted in the Bible? I'm like, but I like nice dragons, I don't like demonic ones. I like purple sparkly ones.
He's a good dragon.
Yeah, exactly. So fast forward to maybe a couple of years ago, whenever I got born again, I was like, okay, I don't feel crazy convicted about this, but kind of like taking a reassessment of my life, my household, getting rid of anything even slightly pagan that found its way into my bookshelf or, artwork or shirts. I'm like, okay, God, what's the deal with these dragons? Like, I don't feel any type of gotta throw them all out kind of conviction, but you take to the word and you look in it. So a lot of utterances of Leviathan are symbolic. Same with the dragon of Revelation. Is Satan a literal dragon in that sense? Maybe not. And so I don't doubt that there are literary terms to associate with power or pride or any sort of negative connotations there. But one verse caught my eye, which I now have above a dragon tapestry in my home, which is
she likes these dragons, guys.
I do. It was my internet handle and everything. Like, I fully embraced it, and everybody was like, cool, nobody else likes that. Awesome. Like,
so original
as an adult. But so the verse is Psalm 104:26, and it says, there go the ships and Leviathan, which you formed to play in it. Talking about the sea. And I'm like, okay, playing in it. They're kind of just hanging out there, and just one translation even says frolic in it. So I'm like, I'm just picturing these like, Puff the Magic Dragon's just like playing splish splashing in the ocean.
Splish splash, I was taking a bath. Yeah, Psalm 40 in the chat did just say God is depicted as playing with Leviathan like a rubber ducky in one of the Psalms.
Okay, that might be it.
That's
Playing with
it.
it, frolicking in it. And so I'm like, okay, God, you created them to frolic in the sea, according to this verse. Many other things, I'm sure, but it's not a negative connotation. It's just kind of like them being an animal doing what animals do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
that is the thing, especially with the source material on Leviathan and Behemoth is they really aren't described as evil. It's not sort of equating it. Now I get it. We got Revelation, we got dragons. There's a broader conversations to be had here on theme, but in sort of the first appearances of Behemoth and Leviathan, they're not necessarily described as evil or dark in some way. They are chaotic and monstrous, but they are, God created them. God plays with them. God, they are beneath God, of course, but they are a part of creation. They are some part of creation, and it does not, at least to my knowledge, at this exact moment, and I am totally ready to be corrected on this, they are not depicted as somehow being or going against God's sovereignty, but in fact, God's sovereignty is what kind of results in their characteristics and their attitudes and their actions, and a representation of just how gnarly creation is, and yet God plays with them like a rubber ducky type of thing.
exactly. And that kind of led me on a deeper rabbit trail of other parallels between good and bad representations of animals in the Bible. One of which is the lion. Jesus is the lion of the tribe of Judah, but he's also not Jesus per se, but lions are spoken about as beware of Satan's prowling around like a lion looking for someone to
Right?
devour.
Yeah.
So it's not that lions are bad, but they have aspects that can be highlighted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because then you got, the lion laying down with the lamb, or the wolf laying down with the lamb, or whoever's laying down with the lamb. Depends on which, I don't know, what's it called? Uh, Mandela effect universe you're living in. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, and it's a wonderful point because that is creation. Like, is that not the characteristic of all creation? I mean, volcanoes, the sea, the animals, the animal kingdom, even wasps, all sort of beautiful pieces of creation that can communicate on behalf of God in many different ways, or can, at least from the human perspective, also show the fact that God, he we should be in awe and fear of God. I mean, he is capable of endless things, even things that we don't like. And that's just, especially in the Old Testament, this is part of, I think, culturally, societally, the moment in history where a monotheistic creator God needed to be, people needed to understand that not only was this God, all love, all creative, all these things, but also all powerful. And in a world at that time where to worship another God was to inherently be at war with other nations. In those times, little g gods were considered to be geographical in nature. We've covered this. They were considered to be implicitly almost war fighting technologies, these little g gods. That was the whole point, is your god goes to war with the neighbor's god, and we see who wins. And so at the time, at that point in human history and development, God did also need to be understood as an all-powerful and potentially violent, deity. Now that changed as the covenant changed, as human history changed. We understand and put different emphases on different syllables of what God, is for the moment, or, what characteristic of God is most helpful for us humans in different parts of history. But yeah, you go back to these Old Testament against, again, the Leviathan, the Behemoth, where you hear Leviathan and Behemoth described as these sort of unstoppable cosmic monsters, and that to a neighboring nation or a neighboring tribe, to the Canaanites or the whoeverrites, that would sound already like the a most powerful God, like a God that would be helpful in destroying your enemies, like a God that you would want on your side. Oh my gosh, you're telling me about a giant sea dragon? Can I sacrifice something to this guy? Can I get this dragon to help me? Behemoth, oh my gosh. And so, then as we continue to get the description of these, what would usually be considered pretty powerful gods to worship if a tribe wanted to, but then we find out that God, big G God, Yahweh, plays with these monstrous beasts as if they're toys in a bathtub. Oh gosh, I mean, if that doesn't strike fear into your geopolitical enemies, I don't know what would.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Another one of the parallels that I saw was like the serpent. Like obviously in the garden, depicted as Satan, the curse to crawl on his belly. And
Yeah,
then Jesus telling us to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So even
right,
out of the mouth of Jesus, he doesn't say all snakes are evil, you know?
right. Yeah. Although, as someone who lives out in the countryside, I will say I am guilty of some profiling here. Whenever I do see a snake, I do assume that it's evil until proven otherwise, because that's how you lose baby chicks or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh
that's a
my!
safe bet.
You know what? I'm having a very strange reaction in my body right now. I am remembering I had a dream last night about getting bit by a snake. Whoa, bro. That is like just coming to me. Have you ever been bit by a snake in a dream before?
Yes, once. And it shocked me because I love snakes also. I
Yeah.
think they're cute little danger noodles. You can boot their snoot, they got a little smile.
Yeah.
I love snakes. And so it surprised me in a dream whenever I was bit by one. But given
Yeah.
the context of the dream, and like where I was and who the snake belonged to was like a friend's. And
Classic.
yeah, and I reached in the cage, picked it up, realized it was like leeching onto me slash biting me. My hand like puffed up, turned black, and then I was able
Woo.
to squeeze the ooze out and go back to normal.
Whoa.
Um, lo and behold, I wrote that dream down because it was super vivid. And then several months later, the way life played out, I realized that one of my closest friends was actually not a friend and
Yeah.
sabotaging me behind my back. And that was the friend who owned the snake in my dream.
Ay, ay, ay.
So
Well,
very symbolic.
yeah, that sounds like a particularly helpful uh, dream about a snake. The thing that always gets me whenever I dream about a snake is it's always a snake with like huge fangs. The assumption is it's like a poisonous snake. And its huge fangs get like in my arm. It's usually in my arm. And it's always a real hassle to like, I don't know how to say this, guide the fangs back out of my skin as it's
Mm,
like stuck in there. And I can like kind of feel like I'm kind of feeling the pain. Like I can almost kind of feel the dream pain right
yeah.
now just thinking about it. There's always very fang centric. All these ding dang snakes with their big teeth, man. I don't know about this.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know if it's symbolic, if dreams that you've had about snakes with giant fangs in the past have played out in a certain way. I had no idea what mine meant until it unraveled, until the friend
Yeah.
was revealed. So there was no way of me getting a heads up per se.
That's kind of how it goes, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the thing about dreams. We can talk about dreams and what that means and how are we supposed to think about that as believers all day long. And in the end, they're rarely sort of helpful in a practical way. I don't know if maybe they play I don't know, a service in maybe preparing our spirit for something, or I don't know, some sort of helpful thing. I I don't know if I've ever been helped by a dream, even though I will say, as far as this snake bite goes, the past couple years, I definitely did end up losing multiple friends who very sounds like very similar to your friends who are sort of snaky and conspiring. I will say right now, I barely even have any friends of that caliber that I would even who are even close enough to like hurt me in that way right now. unless it's one of you out there. I don't know. It's possible. Goodness gracious. Okay, so where were we? Snakes, dreams about snakes, Leviathan. Have you heard floating around, much like Sir Darren just mentioned, other instances of Leviathan coming up as a popular topic lately?
I have mostly in more charismatic circles in reference to like spirits or things that you would want to cast out or have deliverance against. Like I've heard of like the spirit of Leviathan, the spirit of Python, um, in that kind of sense, but not much more than that. Kind of just doing a deep dive on that, and who knows how factual and to the point it is. But I've heard murmurings about that in like a spiritual sense.
Kind of like a prophetic sense, almost maybe.
Yeah, or even more literal, like, casting things out in a
Ah,
deliverance session. The spirit of Leviathan is, represents pride, or maybe the spirit of like Python represents like being choked out of, being your fullest self. If you see things, you're struggling with that you shouldn't, I don't know.
yeah,
People
right.
surmising.
Yeah,
But like, Jesus saying like, all right, demon, what's your name? My name is Legion. They kind of attribute it in a similar sense. Like this demon would call itself
ah,
Leviathan or call itself
ah.
Python or what have
Y-
you.
Yeah, yeah, actually, that's very interesting. It's been many, many, many years, but yeah, I think I have been in the presence of a similar situation. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to be keeping my eyes out because who knows? I would prefer to start having dreams that I don't know, mean good things instead of scary snake bites. Um, Maybe it's just a matter of asking for it. So I'm going to start asking for that, I think.
I should do that too. My
Yeah, I mean,
dreams
it's a
are kind
good
of haunting.
it's kind of funny. Sometimes I go, man, I wish, for instance, I wish I'd have dreams that sort of portend or prepare my heart for wonderful things to happen. And I go, oh, I forget. I can just ask for that. I'm just going to start asking for that. Isn't that a
Exactly.
great way that it works?
Yeah, for real. Well,
Well,
awesome. That's all I had.
wonderful. Thank you, Seraphim, for calling in. It's always a great conversation when you do.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the opportunity with our little Canary Cry Clubhouse.
You betcha. Thanks for being here. Hope to talk to you again.
Likewise.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Wonderful, wonderful. This is a fun one. We have some. Sir Darren says, "Oh no, who bit Basil?" Sounds like a good book title. Basil, I just thought of your retirement plan. Will that work? Will that work? How do you actually make money by writing a book? I know the idea is you write a book and everybody buys your book and you make a bunch of money, but Lord knows, I know a lot of people who wrote a lot of books. And they'll make some money, but not as much as Biden. Did you hear this? Biden just got the offer to write his political memoir. Okay, this just came out a day or two ago. Biden officially got the offer to write his political memoir, which the very idea of Biden writing anything down or even remembering what happened previously in his life to write it down to make a book is sort of, it's almost facetious. Like it's not even silly. It's just pure sort of satire. Uh, $30 million this guy is getting offered to write his political memoir. $30 million, which means, I mean, we know what it is. It's just kind of a payoff for doing his part there. Um, Okay, we got looks like we got one more caller. We got another caller here. This is Sir David G is in the waiting room. I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see here. I'm gonna hit this timer. I'll hit that later. I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Okay, we got one more caller on the line, and then yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours. Pretty good show, everybody. All right, so here we go. We got Sir David G. You're on the air. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Hanging in there, just talking about all sorts of creepy crawlies and dragons and dreams and getting bit by snakes.
Yeah, I heard all that. I wish I had more to contribute to the Leviathan conversation.
That's okay.
Um, I
We'll
really
talk
don't.
about whatever you want. That's what we're here for.
Well, I'm not here to take up too much time. I just wanted to encourage people to come to the meetup. Let's
Ah,
see, in wait, no,
you're talking about
9 days.
Houston,
9 days.
Houston
Yeah,
on the
yeah, 9 days.
24th.
Houston on the 24th. We
Yes.
actually have, I think I've got 5 people that have said they wanted to come so far.
Okay, good, good.
So it's already starting to be a pretty good turnout. Not all of them are Canarians, so it'd be nice to have some other people from the Canarium there to kind of help me, quote
Yeah.
unquote, evangelize, you know?
Yeah,
So,
we have a bunch of people in that area. I know one gal. I don't know who you got RSVP'd, but there's this one gal. I believe she was in Houston, but it's Texas. Things are big. She may have been from Dallas or something, but she drove like 7 hours or 9 hours to go to like the Louisiana meetup or something. I
oh
forget. This
wow.
this was a year ago or so. But I know for a fact, we got a bunch of people in Texas. I know Dallas and Houston are kind of far away from each other, right?
Dallas is about 4 hours,
For
five,
four
just depending on what part of Houston you're in.
that sounds about right.
Between
Okay.
four to
Well,
5 hours. Yeah, it's just as far as, to say like Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as it is to Dallas. So,
yeah, well, we'll keep getting it out there. We got to make sure that all the Texan producers here might be a good opportunity to try the location specific text message alert system. We'll see if we can figure that out. We had some really good responses when I asked if people were interested in receiving text alerts for meetups in their area code. So I will look deeper into that and try as soon as we can. You wanna try to sell it a little bit? You got any big fun plans? What's
yeah,
the
we're gonna do
what's the
some
meetup?
axe throwing. That's
Yeah.
that just to start. So at
Yes.
1 p.m. we're all gonna meet up. We're gonna do some axe throwing, and I'm gonna go ahead and reserve the VIP. So we get
Oh.
like a private server. It's 4 plus, but they don't really give you a specific head count. So if you really are gonna come, I'd appreciate a heads up at least 3 or 4 days in advance because I have to make the reservation um, 3 days in advance.
Ah, I see. For
So,
the amount of
you
people.
know,
Right.
yeah, so we can get a proper head count so I can know how much space we're actually going to need. If not, you can still like it's not that big of a deal. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, yeah, figure it
But the
out.
thought was that, start it early, and if people have things to do, well, go do your thing. If other people still are enjoying the conversation and each other's company, then we can go somewhere else. We can go to a park or whatever,
All sorts of
just
stuff to do out there in
yeah.
Houston. So I hear that's the way to go. That's the way it should be. That sounds like a blast, man. I wish I could come to that. So there you go. The dear Texan, Houston, Dallas, whoever you are, wherever you are around that region, if you're able, make the plan. You could, of course, go to canarycrimemeetups.com. You'll see the contact info for Sir David G here. You want to give out your email?
Yeah, David G NO33 at protonmail.com.
David G NO 33 at protonmail.com. You know,
That is right.
we had a whoopsie daisies for somebody else who was putting on a meetup where they got a Proton Mail account, but Proton Mail does this weird thing where you can get a protonmail.com account or a proton.me account,
Right.
and people sign up for one, they think they're getting the other, and they start giving out the wrong ending of the email account. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. So whenever we
It
see
is.
proton mail accounts, we want to make sure we get the right get the right extension there.
It is Proton Mail. I got this email address long before they did that change up with the
Right.
to two different extensions. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it
Um,
either.
domains or whatever. Um, but yeah, it's definitely protonmail.com and May 24th, 1 p.m. Battle Axe or Battle BATL Axe and Throwing in Houston.
Fun.
You can look it up. If you really want to come, let me know. Like I said, preferably at least 5 days ahead of time. So like by the
Yeah, just
19th.
get in contact as soon as you can.
Yeah,
Even if you're not sure you want to go, get in contact. Start chatting with David here.
yeah,
He's a great guy. Because even if somebody can't come to this particular meetup, you still want to get in contact with the other Canarians. So,
yeah. And even not that, because me and some couple of friends, we just started this thing a couple months ago where we meet up and we listen to Christian vinyl, like
hey,
old bands like well, not really. Steve Taylor isn't a band, but I mean, he's been in tons of different bands.
right.
Um, but just for example, Steve Taylor, 77s, um, who's somewhat like Mile and the Fever, guys like that, just old contemporary Christian music. We're kind of getting back into some old vinyl, and it's
Cool.
been a good time. So if anybody is into anything like that, it's a small thing. It's not necessarily a meetup, but it's good fellowship, and
Hey,
we talk about life, scripture, and we just jam out to some good old Christian music.
yeah, more than anything, that's what it's about. I mean, the meetups are fun and doing the activities together are fun, but it's in the end much more about connecting with your type of people in your area. Because Lord knows, I mean, things are kind of changing now, which we're so grateful to see. But for the longest time, I mean, a decade or more, the whole thing with Canary Cry and the Canarium was, hey, we can't even talk about some of this stuff in our own churches. We got to go out and find other weirdos to fellowship about this kind of stuff with. So get on and get doing it. Denise says I have to work that day. Dang. Well, just quit your job, Denise. It's okay. What's more important, throwing battle axes or paying your bills? I don't know. I'm not the guy to ask. I'm just asking the questions here. Uh, well, thank you very much, buddy. Let's see here. Let me see if I got it right. It's the 24th, right? May 24th
24th, 1
at
p.m. Yeah.
Battle Axe Throwing in Houston. And
Yep.
the
BATL. If you want to look it up online.
contact is davidgno33@gmail.com. Get at him.
At
Sorry, no, it's not
Proton
Gmail.
Mail.
It's
Proton
not
Mail.
Gmail. davidgno33@protonmail.com. There we go.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right. Well, what do you think? Anything else you want to share with the class?
Oh man, I would love to, but dude, I'm the worst about just droning on and going off on different trails, and
That's
I
okay.
eventually steer it back. Sometimes it takes me about 20 minutes to get back to the original point, but because I'd have this grand, point I'm trying to make, and I really like to paint a picture and
Yeah,
wrap
you
it
got to
all up
give
and
the
tie a nice little
lore.
bow on it.
Got
Yeah,
to give the
yeah,
lore some background research. You need some character development before you can actually get to the story. So I understand it. Well, no
yeah.
worries, buddy. That sounds great. I think you calling in was a great rounding out call to round out the show. So thank you very much.
Cool. No, well, thanks for doing this, man. Uh, I really enjoy this show. Even when I don't call in, I like listening to everybody else too, and their take and their scriptural insight and stuff like that. It's a really good thing. Good addition to the Canary
To
Cry
the roster,
media. Yeah,
to the
yeah,
stable, yes, the media empire. Well, thank you very
for
much.
sure.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, and again, there's something about this year that the Lord's just telling me, let's get as many Canarian voices on the air as possible. So that's what we're going to do. All right, buddy. Thanks
There you
so much
go.
for calling in, and don't hesitate to call in next time.
All right, man. Thanks. God
All
bless.
right. God bless. Well, there you go, folks. Hold on one second. What a crazy day. Another call. Come on. Can things just go normal for a second? Yeah, 1 sec. 5 minutes? Can I have 5 minutes, please? Hold on. 5 minutes. Let me go. Okay. Jeez Louise. Apparently I'm supposed to be on a call right now. What a crazy day. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Canary Cry Clubhouse. We're going to do it again. Someday we might change the date, but right now we're going to keep doing it on Thursday. Right now, take out your phone. Take out your text messages. Text the word canary to 877-740-3226 and start getting texts from me and text me back whenever you see something coming through. And the Beyond the Verse, Leviathan and Behemoth will be posted on the YouTube channel on Saturday. So if you want to share it, if you got stuff going on, you can see that post on Saturday. Share it around. So let your friends know what we got going on here. That'd be very helpful. And of course, we're going to be back with Canary Cry News Talk on Monday. So make sure not to miss it. That's the thing. That's the thing about the live show. You got to make sure not to miss it. But it always helps when you've got a groove, like feeding the ducks. Doesn't matter how many dragons or snakes bite you in your dreams. Why are they doing this? We don't know. You really won't know until it's too late. So I ask and I pray that the good Lord above give us some good dreams with good stuff going on. What happened to the days when we would dream about finding a briefcase full of cash or flying? Remember we could fly. We could have some fun in the dream world. All these ding-dang snakes always getting in the wherever. Keep an eye out for Leviathan and Behemoth. But don't be afraid, because they are not but little rubber duckies in the hands of the creator of the universe. Really cute when you think about it. Cute little chaos monsters in the end. And even though Thomas Hobbes is here to convince us that human beings are not to be trusted on our own and that we need to consent to give up our freedoms and our power to the Leviathan, which in his case is literally the government. I don't know about that guy. What's concerning also is that Thomas Hobbes was pretty influential with later political writers like John Locke, etc. But there you go. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry Clubhouse, everybody. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, you know what to do. Think outside the cage. Oh, no. Oh, boy. I've lost control. I've lost control of the thing. Okay, here we go.